I've always, sometimes to a fault, like I've always just like from birth seemingly have just like believed that like I can do it. Like I know I can do it, or I know I don't have to, like I know this is going to sound so freaking like egotistical, and I don't want it to be, but it's like I am destined for greatness. That was like hardwired into me. I was always I guess geared to maybe think more positively or to be optimistic when it came to like myself. Like I believed in myself.
Welcome to Modern Happiness, where we believe happiness is a choice. Our goal is to share how we and our high-performing guests choose happiness, covering topics such as fitness, mindset, relationships, business, and much more in today's world. Here are your hosts, Matt Mahalik and Taylor Sleaford.
What's up, happiness homies? We are so excited to have Ben Dziwulski on the podcast today. It was so fun meeting Ben at the CrossFit Games. If you don't know Ben is the owner of WODprep. WODprep is the leading company, I would say. Company, I don't know what he calls himself. The leading brand in teaching CrossFitters how to get better at CrossFit. He's got over 125,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is just incredible. And he's got over 100,000 followers on Instagram. And Ben is such a fun guy. Taylor and I talk about having these happiness principles, the tenets of happiness, what really makes a happy life. And we're going to talk about that soon. So stay tuned for that when Taylor and I break that down for y'all. But we've been working through those, and Ben happened to hit all of these inside of this podcast. The importance of fitness, the importance of community, the importance of having a mission and a purpose in your life, and on and on. And man, Taylor and I love this podcast. I swear these podcasts are just getting better and better. But if you want to understand, how Ben has created his own happy life, just paying attention to the signs of everything that happened to his life, from selling rocks when he was a kid up to now, and creating WODprep and just leaning into that entrepreneur mindset, and that he was just always an entrepreneur. He leaned into it. And I think my biggest takeaway from this is that he never looked at the negative side of shit. Yes, it's okay to be sad. We talk about that. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to have hard times. But then what? Then what do you do after that? And Ben has story after story on how he dealt with that in his own life. And it was such a fun podcast. Talked about some things that he's never really talked about in public before. So that was super fun. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this podcast. I know Taylor and I did. If you do, please share it on Instagram. Let us know your biggest takeaways. Give Ben a follow. He's super fun follow if you're into fitness, especially CrossFit. But he's always outside doing active stuff. He's just a fun follow. So go find Ben at WODprep, WODprep, and enjoy this episode.
What is up, happiness homies? Welcome back to another episode of Modern Happiness. We have Ben from WODprep. Ben, how you doing?
I am tired, but very happy to be here. You see how
I like that word.
Happy came in.
There it is.
Everything's great, man. We're at the CrossFit Games on the final day, and the final day is always the most fun because you get to see who wins, and then all the athletes go out and have a good time tonight, and it's just kind of like, it's a big burden is lifted. It's like the finality of the season, and all of our athletes start getting ready for next season. So
yeah, it's great though. They have a few weeks off. They can, like you said, go and party. Finally let loose.
Yeah.
They've been so strict.
Yes.
Yeah, if you're not tired by the final day of the CrossFit Games, you're not doing it right.
As a spectator, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I don't know the athletes, but I feel like
I'm worried about you.
I've been hitting it hard the last couple of days, man. We're having a good time.
That's right. We got the large cold brew coffee, or iced coffee, we should say.
Yeah, I tasted it. It's definitely iced coffee. For anyone listening who owns a coffee shop, be sure to note whether it's iced coffee or cold brew, because I will see right through your lies if it's not cold brew.
It's different. It tastes different. It hits different.
It's more bitter if it's not true cold brew.
Yeah, we can't have that.
Yeah. It's all right. It's got caffeine in it, I hope.
Ben knows what he wants. All right, Ben, we like to start off with some rapid fire, get the audience to know you a little bit.
All right.
Kind of dive into this.
Okay.
Rapid fire is loose for us, so feel free to expand.
Great.
So first question, we like to start off. What's one thing you're grateful for?
one thing I'm grateful for. I'm grateful for my team, like the WODprep team. Yeah, it's this big happy family. Freaking love them. They work hard, and it's amazing. Like a few of us haven't met yet until the CrossFit Games, kind of like a team retreat in a sense. And it's just amazing to see everyone come together. Everybody just hits so well together.
That's really cool. We're definitely gonna dive into some of that.
Yeah.
How big is your team?
It's a great question. I say 10-ish, because it all depends on what is a full team member. We have a lot of part-time people, but they're still definitely a full team member. So I'd say we have around 10 people.
Awesome. Okay, Ben, most used emoji.
The laughing, not laughing, crying, but like the sweat laughing. You guys know that one? With
like
the
on
one,
the forehead.
with the
kinda.
one drop. Like, shouldn't be laughing about this.
Yeah, like
That one.
oh shit, we made it through.
Yes,
Kinda.
exactly.
Yeah,
That's the one.
That's solid. What is your walk-up song?
Money in the Grave.
Nice.
Yeah,
That was quick.
No question.
No hesitation.
Because we're at the CrossFit Games, and 2 years ago when we were here, aka the last time we were here, that song had like just come out, and everywhere we walked, me and my buddy CJ, he's my head coach as well, also pretty much my best friend, probably is my best friend. I wonder what he would say to that. He'd probably just be like, I better be your best friend. That's all I'm thinking about.
He's like, yeah, you're questioning it.
Yeah, I'm questioning it, and then I'm like, oh no, he's gonna get angry at me.
Have I said that out loud before?
Yeah. But everywhere we would walk, we would just listen to Money in the Grave. I'd just pull it up and we'd just dance down the street and stuff.
I love that. That's great.
Good time.
Kind of a side tangent, but perfectly in line. I remember the first time we were like, yeah, we're best friends, Taylor and I. It was funny, and then last summer...
It's like saying I love you for the first
It kind of is.
Yeah.
I feel the same way.
Yeah.
You too?
You too?
Man.
Phew.
Yeah.
Really awkward if it's only one person, right?
It just came out. That wasn't. Yeah.
But then we were in Portland last year, and we had... oh shit, now I'm blanking. What was the song we just like nonstop?
And now that you're asking.
Oh my god, wow. I had it, and then now it's gone. But yeah, whatever. We were putting the song on like every time we got in the car. Just blasted it.
Yep.
Love that.
I love it.
You're up.
Okay, I was trying to think of the song still. Okay, big reader. I know you are, Ben. Favorite book.
Oh, that's tough. Honestly, I would have to organize favorite book a little bit more by asking like what kind of favorite book. Like,
Yeah, and you can name a few.
So one that comes to the top of my mind is Essentialism by Greg McKeown. Phenomenal book. Always in my top 5 if I'm making a list. It's always in the top 5. Another one that I'll have come back to multiple times is Deep Work by Cal Newport. I love that book.
I read that one, and I was like, this is so good.
Yeah.
And now I just completely forgot about it. I think I gotta revisit it.
I mean, it's very. I mean, it's a little repetitive. Like for some people, you can just be like, "Hey, eliminate your distractions and focus on one thing for an extended period of time." And it's like, "Oh, okay, got it." Like, good tip. But for me, if there's an idea that's valuable, it needs to be beat into my head. And 250 some odd pages of beating it into my head, that is finally enough to at least get it across, kind of.
I think that's one of the things for me with those books where I don't need that, and I'm like, okay, I get it. And that's where it almost leaves a bad taste in my mouth with the book.
Where it's like too much.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, I get it.
Yeah, I need the opposite. I need them to make a really valid argument if I'm going to listen. And a lot of times it takes a lot of pages. I listen on Audible to most of my books, especially like during snowboard season. Like if I'm going back and forth to the mountains a lot, like then I have hour or two commutes both directions, and I can just listen to a book.
I'm curious on that. Do you ever get like bummed if people are coming with you snowboarding? I mean, obviously you like people and community and stuff. But you're like, damn, I was gonna get like 2 hours of my book done.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love single pooling. I love like being in my alone time in the car is sacred to me sometimes.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, if our conversation isn't good, it's like I could be listening to a book right now.
Yeah. And I know you love coffee. I think like early mornings, as the sun is rising, drinking coffee and either listening to a good podcast or something, and just something like creates a flow state.
For sure.
On to the next. You good with the books? You got any more?
I got a lot, man, but those are like the two that really came to my mind. Another one that I freaking chewed through it was Shoe Dog with Light.
Dude, I've been trying to get Matt to read that.
You said you were going to give it to me on my vacation here.
Well, it's at my house.
I forgot.
But yeah, it's incredible.
I devoured it.
I think, I read it on a beach in Florida, like instantly. And the biggest thing for me, I think, is like the world we grew up in, is Nike was always like at the top. Mm-hmm. And then you don't realize how Phil Knight was grinding forever, like working other jobs, and it's just like, every story is different, but it was just cool to see how he just never gave up.
I think my biggest takeaway from that particular book for me was just like, my leadership style, it works for some people. That's for me. My team was actually, there was a couple of members of my team that were actually in here, and they would agree. I think they've left the room now, but they would agree. Like sometimes, like, how he had his like one main employee that was working with him, and he would like get these long letters, and like the guys like really wanting guidance, and Phil's just like, I just didn't respond. Like, and I knew he'd take care of it. That's a lot of times what I do, not to be like rude or not to be like standoffish or ignore them. A lot of times I'm just like, hey, I don't care. You're in charge of this, so like you make the call. That's what I hire you for. Obviously, there's some things like setting the vision of the company and the direction. Like there's some things where it's nice to chime in, but more often than not, I tend to just be like, hey, what do you think? And then let people run with it. And that was something that I learned from that book, where he gave people a lot of control, and that helped at least shape the formative years of the company.
That's awesome. That's something I'm learning from my own business, to hand over things and just let people take care of it and trust them. Like you said, that's why you hired them. And to empower them to do it so you can get back to what you do best.
Yep, exactly.
Nice. All right, what did you want to be when you grew up?
NBA basketball player or a herpetologist.
What is a herpetologist?
That's basically like Steve Irwin. Like play with reptiles all day.
Nice.
Yeah. I love Steve Irwin. Rest in peace.
Yeah, what the hell?
Quite the contrast there, basketball.
Yeah. I love basketball, and I was good at it. And I actually played with a couple of guys that went to the league. Like I played AAU basketball at a pretty high level in high school, and a couple of guys I know, like they scored points in the NBA, which is pretty amazing. But it's like here I was, Ben at 5, probably 4 at the time, and then there's like Henry 6'11". Wingspan 7'2" in like 8th grade or something like that. So Henry made it to the NBA, just in case anyone. I did not. Henry did. But just in case anyone was confused. So that's
appreciate the clarification.
And then I freaking love animals, like reptile. I like sharks. I like fish. I used to, the other thing would maybe be a professional fisherman, but that kind of like came into the equation, and I almost did go pro fishing, like outside of college, coming out of college. That's what I went to college for.
What kind of fishing?
Bass fishing.
Oh.
And then I also ran a shark fishing guide service. But when I was younger, like the dream was like, I'm gonna be like a biologist to be like Steve Irwin and play with reptiles and do all that, or I'm gonna go to the NBA. One of those two. I was.
Wow.
Neither of which.
And here we are. Man, I can't wait to dive into what you're doing now.
And here I am, just freaking rotting at the crossroads.
Do you have pets?
I do have two puppies. Yeah. They're like 8 and 9 years old, but I still call them puppies.
They're babies. Fur babies.
Okay, last rapid fire. What is your superpower?
Muscle ups.
If I had to, I don't have a superpower, just in case anyone wanted.
Not like a mythical superpower.
If I had to say like, hey, this is what I'm really good at, it would be, I think, like idea creation. Like I love just like shooting videos. When I'm with Travis shooting videos, and then we're sitting there in the studio, and I have like a general framework of an idea for a video, or someone has given me an idea for a video. I can on the spot just like come up with stuff that creates the actual content of the video, whether it's like jokes or points of performance or like coaching tips or do the intro and outro. It's like I can just kind of like snap into it. So like maybe being in front of the camera and delivering decently crafted coaching presentation, I'd say, is maybe what I'm best at. And that's kind of like what I keep for myself. Like I outsource a lot of help with my team, but on the team, that's like the one thing that I do consistently. Is I am the one in front of the camera that does the coaching, because that's like I love that. I love doing that.
Big idea guy.
Yeah. Have you read the book Rocket Fuel?
Yes. Gino Wickham.
Yeah. Thoughts? Do you have
Obviously, I'm the visionary,
Yeah.
and then I do have I mean, kind of like almost like the whole team sort of serves as the executor. But I do have an operations manager. That's like one of my most recent hires, and he's crushing it. He's here. He's very much like the polar opposite of me, which is perfect because I'm a million ideas a minute. And he's like, let's focus on one thing.
Yeah.
That seems complicated. Let's simplify it. I'm like, okay.
That's perfect. I think that's the beauty of that book. And where you get to do that. You have the freedom to just kind of throw out ideas, do all the crazy things, and he goes, we're staying right here, and here's how we're going to get done.
Yeah, I love it.
That was one thing. So I got the chance to work with you for a very little bit, but it was super fun coming into your studio, and you're like, all right, like you very much like 3 seconds. The first 3 seconds, we need to like capture people's attention in the first 3 seconds. How do we do that? I love doing that stuff, being creative with the videos. I like making my reels and stuff. So it was fun to, we had some ideas like, you're gonna throw the wall up. I got on a ladder, I was catching the wall.
That was really good. We made some money off that ad.
There we go. All right.
At least some people watched it, and some people bought it. That was a good time.
But it's fun to be in that space. That's what I love. Kind of about what I do and being able to like just create my own vision, make my own videos. No one's like, it's a little too sexual, man. You probably shouldn't do that. I'm like, I don't care. This is my style.
I think one thing I love about it too is like, especially like if you're in the studio and you've never seen it done before, and like I'll like write out these jokes or like write out these lines, and when I say write them out, just like on a whiteboard, like a couple words, and then I'll deliver it, in front of the camera. If anyone's watching and they like saw it, they're like, this isn't funny. Then no one would laugh. And then like when you actually like, put it together in a video and like the timing's appropriate and like it's all edited together, it's just like, oh my god, it was a joke, it was hilarious.
Yeah.
It's just so cool to see that go from like, I mean, half the time like Travis and I would get done a video and that's not gonna do well. And then like after it comes back from editing, I'm like, oh my god, that was great. Like we nailed it. And it's really cool to see it all come together.
It's the beauty of the editing. Even I make like some of these reels and I do like some of these inspirational ones. Just put some music behind it.
Yeah.
And if all of a sudden the video just completely changes the message. I love when you do that. And humor is a big part of kind of your style.
Yeah, that's actually a recent development.
Is it?
That's probably within the last year. I didn't used to really. I mean, it was all just like, here's how you do this, here's how you do this, and just like simple coaching. Then I realized like, I get a little burnt out sometimes, like, I don't know, doing the same thing over and over and over. So it's like, I love comedy. Like, I love watching it, I like producing it, and so do other people. So I was like, I think this is going to be a growth tool. So in some of my videos, I just started like adding like these like, little skits or like little one-liners. I think it actually started in the Open 2 years ago or 3 years ago. Whichever my first Open was in Denver, everyone takes the Open so seriously, the CrossFit Open. And I was like, I gotta like have fun with this. Like, everyone takes this way too seriously. And I did like one joke in one of the first videos. Like I like made a joke where I like, dropped the dumbbell and like acted like it hit my foot, and then I as an homage to Peter Griffin from Family Guy, I just sat there and I was like, for like annoying way too hard, yeah. And then the comments were great. They were like, oh my god, that was amazing, like Peter, Family Guy, and then of course there's like the one guy that's like, that was weird. Why did you do that so long? And I was just like, you didn't. And then it was just like, okay, people love this. Like let's do more of this, and it just kind of. And then we actually did like full skits too. And then it's funny. I think it's the most popular Instagram video we ever have released was the one where I made a video that was just like 5 athletes every coach hates or something like that. And got like 100-something thousand views like very quickly, and I was like, okay, people like comedy. I guess I'll try this.
Comedy is relatable. It's one of my favorites. I think you did 10 different coaches.
Oh yeah,
I remember commenting on movies on YouTube, and I was like, fuck. I was like, I've been all of these people. Like the one where you're like, you know, be intentional when you pick up your marker off the ground. You're like, you know, you squat, hips back, you know.
the chasing excellence. Yeah.
Like that one, I was like, wow, I really actually did that. It's kind of embarrassing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We've all been there. And then it's like the cheerleader. Good times.
Yeah. Those are great. Awesome.
I love that. So, Ben, I'm curious, you know, if you were to go back and you had talked about either NBA or loving animals, and obviously CrossFit wasn't really a thing, so, you know, it'd be hard to know that this is what you're in, but telling your younger self that this is what you're doing for a career, what do you think that would be like? That'd be a big surprise? Does this kind of come out of left field as far as like the plan of, you know, typical go to college, whatever?
Yeah, it's funny. When I was younger, I specifically remember when I was like really young. Man, how am I gonna make as much money as my parents were? You know, and because it was just like it was unfathomable to me that my dad had like a job. It allowed us to like have a house.
Around what age was this?
I was in like 6th grade, I think.
Wow, I definitely was not.
I was just like, man, my dad, you know, was able to like buy things with money, and I only make $10 a week, maybe with my allowance or something like that. I was like, I need to get a different job. You know, I was just like, how is this gonna work? But I don't like working. Like this is, and about that time, I actually like, funny enough, like. My parents would, like, I would get like $1.75, I think is what it was, to go buy like a school lunch each day. And then sometimes we'd make it, and then when they were splurging, it's like, here's $1.75, $1.25. You know, I don't feel like making anything, take the money. And I would go to school, pocket that money, and then all of my friends would never finish the food. And I'd just be like, bro, can I eat that? And so I would have the best meal because I would just cherry pick all my friends that wouldn't eat all their food. I would eat it, and then I'd pocket my $1.75. That was my first step into the entrepreneurship world. And also, I think in 7th grade, I was selling rocks. Not that kind of, not like now the illegal rocks, legal. Literally stones that I found in my backyard.
Yeah, that's what I thought you meant, not like crack rocks.
You know, if I was a rapper, like I would say, you know, I was pushing weight, and I was moving rocks, and it wouldn't be a lie. But I was literally selling these, like, just like these stones that I found in my backyard. And
who was buying this? Were you just
my neighborhood kids? Because I would just be like, hey man,
you're just such a good salesman.
Like, look at this rock. This thing is it's freaking shiny, man. Don't you want it? Like, nah, I don't want it. He's like, I don't know, dude. This is a really nice rock. And I said,
look, Stacy was talking about this rock.
It was so funny. So like, I can't believe. So like, there were these twins, Daniel and Patrick, and they were awesome. I love those guys. But I think it was like 7th grade. They had their birthday party. And of course, when you throw a birthday party, back then, you know, you invite all your friends, and everyone gives you like 10 bucks, 20 bucks, 15 bucks. And so they were like loaded, right? Like they just did their birthday party. So the twins just had a birthday party, and like later that week, I sold like 3 rocks to them, and they like paid all of their birthday money to me. And then the mom got mad, called my mom. My mom was like, "What did you do, Ben? You sold them what?" I was like, "Yeah, I found some really cool rocks in the backyard, and I sold them to Patrick and Daniel. It was a mutual exchanging goods. Like, and my mom was like, go give them their money back right now." And I was like, as long as they give me my rocks back. That was my first experience with a money-back guarantee, which is why WODprep always has a lifetime money-back guarantee, because I don't ever want to. So funny.
You don't get by your mom again.
I will say this: our courses provide much more value than those rocks. But that was it was just weird because it's not like I was like I wasn't like thinking like how can I like swindle someone out of money or whatever. I was just like I don't know, like I need to I just like was naturally pulled to entrepreneurship. So then that actually snowballed into like a much more, I guess, valuable, even though it's probably, I guess, playing cards, like, baseball cards, basketball cards were actually my thing, because I love the NBA. So I actually like started selling basketball cards. So like I would buy all these packs of cards and then like get a couple, pull a couple good ones, and then like convince my friends in school that they needed to buy this jersey card, or this card, or that card, And I would make money, selling $10 cards or something like that. And that was that was my thing. I don't know why, but it was just like naturally linked to that.
Yeah.
So I was just wired to be an entrepreneur, or wired to like create my own wealth rather than like work for anyone. Like I've never, like I worked a job in like I think 8th or 9th grade, and like worked for my dad at his office, and like 2 days in, I was like, if this is what being an adult is like, I'm running away. Like there's no way. It's like my dad comes here every day. Like I've been here for an hour and I have to leave. I am getting out of here immediately.
That's so funny. I remember distinctly very similar. My dad's a banker, and always wearing a suit and everything. And I just remember, I don't want to do this. I don't know what I want to do, but I want to do the opposite of that, which really pushed me to fitness.
Yeah.
So I can totally relate.
I always get kind of jealous of people who are like entrepreneurs at a young age, and I don't know why. I just think it's so cool, like the lemonade stand and making that money and trying to find new ways. And it definitely sounds like something you probably took, well, obviously now, but like should have been selling rocks. Should have been selling rocks. Also, there's nothing like opening up a fresh pack of cards. It's so freaking exciting. So good. God, I love the days. I'm curious about like what were you doing with the money? So you're selling rocks. You're kind of like, were you saving it all? And you're like, was there a plan in mind, or were you just like?
Honestly, the only was I was selling rocks. And I will say this much. Everyone was like, oh my God, you were scanning. There were some really cool little like golden nuggets in the rocks that I was convinced was gold. Didn't necessarily check on it. I was like, oh, that's gold. I know. Because that's where you find gold, is in rocks. Because, I watched shows on Discovery Channel, and, anyway, so there was like little gold nuggets in them. So that's why I was selling the rocks. I was like, hey, I haven't broken the rock to get the gold nuggets out, but I can give this to you as a really good deal. You give me $50 maybe for this rock. I know you got money, Daniel. I know you got money, Patrick. And then when Daniel wanted a rock, I was like, well, Patrick, your brother's got a rock. You got a rock, obviously, or else he's going to be the better twin. It's just like that's Seth Godin in his book, This is Marketing. People like us do things like this. Mimetic Desire. There's actually a book called, I think, Wanting, that I've read like a few chapters of it, but that's like next on the list. It's about mimetic desire. Like, why do we desire things?
I keep thinking about this weekend when we're in the CrossFit Games, and it's like all of a sudden there's a line at the Fit Aid booth, and that line gets longer and longer because people are like, well, I gotta stand on line for this thing. Like, I need what everyone else is having.
And because Fit Aid is delicious and Aaron is amazing. I think he's in this room. He's the guy who's talking about it.
Okay,
he's the owner of Fit Aid. He's the man.
Yeah, Fit Aid is fantastic.
Aaron is a good dude. I don't even remember the question that you asked because I was so distracted. Oh yeah. Rocks, like that memory came out of nowhere, and I'm just down memory lane.
We need like a WODprep special T-shirt with a rock on it.
We do.
Symbolic.
We do. Oh, you asked what was I doing for money? Yeah. So I was probably playing basketball. Like that was it. I was
putting money back in the business.
Putting money back in the business. Dude, I still remember. Because you were also mentioning like how it feels to open a fresh pack of cards. I'm having PTSD where one day I go to the store, I go to the dugout. Like the dugout was a spot. It was like 20 minutes from my house, and I remember like anytime we even get close to there, I was like, yo, Mom, can we go to the dugout? Yeah. Can we go to the dugout?
Dopamine hitting.
I love that place, man. And you go immediately everywhere, autographs, jersey cards, like, oh my God. So I remember going to the dugout, buying, whatever the pack was, opening it there, because they always love it, like, if you pull a really good card or whatever, it's like, oh, this sells it. Yeah. Put it in there was a freaking Kevin Garnett jersey.
Oh yeah.
I lost because jersey cards like that's the big pull, right? There was a Kevin Garnett jersey card I loved. Like he's amazing. Still is amazing. Shout out to KG. I know you're watching.
Yeah, he is.
What's up?
Zoom in.
I think he did a really good job in that movie with Adam Sandler. That was like weird. What was it? Something about. I love the one with diamonds.
I don't even know this.
You don't know?
Yeah, the newer one.
Yeah, we're Adam Sandler. Yes. Great job. Yes. I'm freaking
By the way, the eye contact Ben just made with the camera as he brings up Kevin Garnett was incredible. Yeah, you guys need to watch this on YouTube if you're listening.
Yeah. KG, you're the man. I love it. Where were we? So we pulled Kevin Garnett jersey card, and that night, because I was so excited, I slept with it next to my bed, right? I slept with it next to my bed because I was so, it was just like the best pull I'd ever had at that point, you know? So I slept with it next to my bed, and in the middle of the night, my water spilled on it.
No way.
And I woke up in the morning, and the Kevin Garnett jersey card was like shriveled up.
Oh no!
Like, cause it has to be like pristine condition for it to be worth anything. And the thing was like shriveled up, and it was destroyed completely. And I lost it. I was devastated for like a week.
Yeah.
I basically took the card apart, took the pieces of the jersey, and I was like, I'm gonna save these. Like, I'll never lose this jersey.
Yeah.
And I probably lost it 30 minutes later. But it was just oh man. I'm sad about it right now.
Yeah.
I'm tearing up.
I'm sorry.
Man. That card meant everything to me, and then it fell apart, but it's okay.
Are you everything happens for a reason? Do you feel like this taught you anything? Was there big moment, or you're like, no, it just happened, move on?
Don't keep really valuable things next to spillable water.
Yeah.
I guess is
That's perfect. Okay.
Everything happens for a reason. That's what I learned from that.
Nice. So where did it go from basketball cards? You putting money back into the business, selling cards now? Did you ever trade them, or you just sold them?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, of course. Got a couple guys at the school. We'd do some trades, but I was in the cash game, man. I was stacking
wheeling
cash.
and dealing, baby.
Wheeling and dealing, saving my lunch money. Be like, bro, you gonna eat that? No, perfect. Pocketing $1.75, and just stacking. I think my net worth at that point was probably around maybe $100. Yeah, I was. Remember buying one of those Razor scooters with it?
Yes.
We're really oh my God, I'm getting all the feels on this episode.
I bought a Razor scooter with that, and I was just
your Tamagotchis, Pogs.
And I was convinced, and I actually had a Pog maker. So I sold Pogs at some point.
Yeah.
Because I was punching Pogs. I had a Pog making machine.
So were you a one-man show? Did you get the neighborhood kids trying to set up a team and
I didn't work
diversify and
I didn't have anyone working for me yet because I hadn't learned the value of outsourcing. I didn't outsource anything. I'm trying to think, when was my first hire? I don't think I hired anyone until way down the road when I opened my first gym.
Yeah.
Or the only gym I opened. But when I opened the gym outside of college, that's the first time I actually had to hire someone, and it was terrifying. I didn't understand it. So that was a lesson I didn't learn until much, much later. And I know y'all had Ryan Fisher on the podcast. Now I'm obviously very passionate about outsourcing. I don't want to do any work.
Yeah.
I just want everybody else to do it, and because they're going to do it better than me, not because I'm lazy or if anyone's watching or listening, they are like, yes, you are very lazy. But for me, it's I want people who are really good at all the things that I'm not so good at to do those things. And then I focus on a very, very small window of what I may or may not, what I think I'm good at or what other people tell me I'm good at. So no, back in the moving rocks and cards day, I was a one-man show.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting because I don't know if it was a book I read or a podcast I was listening to, but I think so many people look at, okay, what am I good at? What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? And then they try to get better at everything.
Right.
And then you end up just being average.
Yeah.
And I had this light bulb moment when someone was like, no, I'm going to be aware of my strengths and my weaknesses, and I'm going to lean into my strengths.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to surround people with, what they're really good at, because it's also likely that if I'm not good at this, I'm also not passionate about this.
Oh, yeah, and it's going to burn you out.
So do you feel like you had mentioned, your first gym, was that out of necessity? And then when was the shift of realizing like, oh, this is actually going to make things better by, outsourcing?
Yeah, man, I was like sleeping at the gym. And I didn't even like finish tying the last point that I made because I got sidetracked like usual. But like I recommended to Ryan the book Who Not How, which is one that I read recently. And I guess he was telling me at the WODprep party a couple nights ago, he was like, that was the best book I've read ever.
Oh, he was very emphatic about it.
And he was just like so pumped, and I was like, all right, cool, man. Like I got street cred with Ryan, like I gave him a book recommendation because I hadn't met him yet until then. But anyway, so I had to tie a bow on that point because my brain couldn't focus on the next question. But it was out of necessity because I was sleeping at the gym. Like there was a couple nights where I had a hammock running across our 14-foot Rogue rig where I just like slept in an Eno hammock. I was like, this is a smart idea. This is what people do when they're opening gyms. And then it was like, I did that for like 2 nights, and I was just like, well, this isn't going to work. Like, I didn't get a lick of sleep. This is horrible. I'm scared. Someone's going to break in and kill me. But it was out of necessity because I just couldn't work all the hours. Neither could Josh, the other guy who owned the gym with me. So we just like, did what every CrossFit gym does, especially like back then and in the early days, rather than like hiring a professional coach. It's like, hey, want a free membership? Like you got a level 1. Come on. But we did like do some coach grooming, but yeah, it was just out of necessity of like, I physically can't do this. Like I can't work this long. And I was also actually competitive back then. So like with all the training I was doing, I couldn't coach the 6 and then close at 7:30 p.m. I couldn't do it. It was just that, combined with training, was just like my body wasn't responding well to it. AKA I was just like really freaking tired, and I didn't even drink coffee back then. So it was just like, yeah. I mean, how did I even wake up in the morning?
Yeah,
I just wake up and just be fine. It was very strange.
Wow.
Very, very weird. I was very weird. I didn't start drinking coffee until I moved to San Diego. Until, man, I was like 24, something like that. 25? I don't know. And that's when my palate matured.
And then you started living.
Yeah.
Well, are we all the weird ones who love coffee? My girlfriend actually wakes up at like 7 a.m. and just like peppy and ready to go.
Yeah,
no coffee.
actually,
I'm like,
we're just living. We're living
She's
like
an
in this
alien.
alternate realm where it's like we're all high on caffeine, and then like all the normal people are just like, these coffee people are just.
what the fuck?
It is. I mean, it is a drug.
Yeah,
it's just
absolutely.
like for whatever reason, it's a socially acceptable drug.
Yeah.
It's like
we can justify it.
Yeah,
for sure. Okay, so I'm really curious. It sounds like you had this like innate, I don't know if it was like your environment or your family or growing up, if we tie in the selling rocks and the hustling and the
moving weight.
And the basketball cards, you always like thought about things differently, right? Like not just maybe we had, I think a lot of people might have had a lemonade stand at some point, and maybe their parents kind of drove that. But then we fast forward now and what you're doing with WODprep, and you owned a gym and you coach, but it seems like you didn't just settle. And I think a theme that Matt and I see with a lot of people is they, maybe start coaching CrossFit or own a gym, and then they're like, okay, well, this is what you do. Mm-hmm. They don't think outside the box of like, oh, because we were talking the other day, we ran into you, and you were talking about working with masters athletes through WODprep, and you're like, oh, this was an underserved population, so it made sense. Like, let's do this thing. And I imagine that's how WODprep started, was you're like, oh, well, the world needs X, Y, and Z. Yep. And do you feel like that's just something you naturally kind of think that way? And follow up maybe is like, how could people start thinking that way rather than just like, oh, this is the way I live my life, or, oh, I want to coach, so I coach CrossFit or I personal train, and not think about, oh, what else could I do? Could I create something?
That's so interesting. Yeah, I don't know if it's hardwired. I've always, sometimes to a fault, like I've always just like from birth, seemingly have just like believed that like I can do it. Like I know I can do it, or I know I don't have to. Like I know this is gonna sound so freaking like egotistical, and I don't want it to be, but it's like I am destined for greatness. That was like hardwired into me. I'm sure part of that was like my parents are just incredibly loving and supportive, and that not everybody gets that. And I realize how like I won the lottery there, not only from a parent's perspective, but from from like, oh my gosh, I grew up white, you know, like upper or middle class, depending on who you ask, but like in the United States, like I absolutely won the freaking lottery, and then had the amazing parents and a functional relative, you know, environment, and I wasn't abused in any way. Like, so like all these things just fell in my direction that I had zero control over. So that's like step one, was like, I was just privileged, right? Privileged beyond I can probably even fathom. But because of that, and the way that my brain is wired, I just never thought that a door would close for me. It was like, I'm going to make it to the NBA. I don't care if I'm 5, you know, at the time. I don't care if I'm 4'2", you know, like, I don't care if I'm 4'8", you know, I'm going to make it. And I'd talk to the doctor and be like, Doc, like going in for checkups, it's like, how, you know, Doc, how tall am I going to be? I'm going to be 6'2", right? Well, Ben, and she's Indian, and I'm not even going to try to do her accent, but Dr. Chatterjee, love her. She was like, well, Ben, your dad is 5'7", and your mom is 5'2", so maybe you'll be 6'2". And I'm like, got it. I will be. I got it. I see what you're saying. You're saying I am going to be 6'2"? Because that was like my cutoff for like NBA player.
Yeah.
And of course I couldn't will that into existence, but yeah, I was always, I guess, geared to maybe think more positively or to be optimistic when it came to like myself. Like I believed in myself. And yeah, I don't know if that was, I feel like I was born with it. And then also because I was in an environment that didn't knock me down, that didn't like tell me I was worthless. Like I was in an environment that was just like, yeah, of course you can. Like, yeah, I believe, of course you can, Ben, you know, and that just groomed me to have that mindset to look at things differently, and just to be like I can do it. I don't have to wait for someone else's permission or for someone else to like show me the roadmap of how they live, to like want to follow how they do it. Like you said, like, oh, this is just what we do as Coach CrossFit. Like for me, it's always just like, all right, like, yeah, this is what some people do, but like I can combine this with 5 other hobbies, or like I can start this. And so while I've learned from a lot of people, I've just always had this brain that says like, oh, you can do it differently. And I guess hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, that's so interesting and unique, because I think most people miss that and they lack that. And it's like maybe the conversation of like, for some people almost feeling a little woo-woo, like manifesting things. And, you know, but it really is. If you believe it's possible, you're that much more likely to be successful at it. So how does, can you relate to other people who don't look at the world that way? Or, you know, what is that like for you? Are you just like, man, how can you do that? Or, you know, what tips maybe do you have for people who don't have that mindset?
Man, I don't know. It's almost, I guess you can like catch yourself in the moment when like what's coming to mind is like playing sports, right? Like I remember being on these competitive basketball teams, or being in like playing football, or I mean really anything. When something bad happened, there's like some teammates that like they just get really angry and they get frustrated and they're like, we suck, you know, or like you suck, and they're just like, they're Debbie Downers. And I just remember like always, it's like, no, like guys, we can win. Like, and if we think we can win, then we have a much higher probability of winning, you know. But if you don't think you can win, you're not going to win. And I just remember like on all the teams I was ever on, I was always the guy that like just kept a calm head, positive attitude, calm head, positive attitude, because I was so freaking annoyed by the people that like they would like do something, like something would go wrong, they'd miss a shot, and there's you know, like that was a foul, I didn't get the foul call, and then it just like it just crumbles them, and I'm just like, no, what is the point of that? So I don't know, for whatever reason, playing team sports, especially when I was surrounded by people that like had negative attitudes, it like really pissed me off, and I would try to be the leader that would pull them out of it, you know, give them a pep talk, slap them on the butt, be like, hey, calm, like, doesn't matter, let's move on to the next play, like, chill, dude. And I think I do that in business now a little bit, but I think if you catch yourself in the middle of not like, I guess like a negative thought, or like if you're giving yourself or really like especially like people around you, if you're like focusing on the negative, then all that's going to happen is you're just going to train yourself to focus on the negative more and more and more and more and more. And I'm not saying like I have plenty of pessimistic times in my life, and I love being sarcastically pessimistic all the time, right? Like, you know, I got a little streak of that running in me. But if, especially like in business or like on team sports or in the gym, like even last night watching the freaking snatch event, right? I mean, I'm not going to say any specific athlete names, but like there were some athletes where like they'd like hit the lift, or like they'd hit it a little sloppy, and you can just see like their shoulder slump, they're shaking their head, they're pissed. Right, and it's just like, good angry can be positive, and I utilize that all the time. But like this whole thing where you're just like kicking yourself and you're like just angry at the world, like that's not helping you achieve your goal, right? And it's the people who are like amped and positive. Like look at Annie, look at what Annie did. She, I think PR'd her snatch, but she ended up in the finals. No one in a million years would have picked her to be in that, like the final person.
She just had a baby,
tying with Tia Toomey.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Right.
Like no one in a million years. And you know why she's there? She was just vibing, man. She was happy. She was like, yeah, I can do it. Why not? Why can't I do it?
Yeah.
Yeah, way earlier in the snatches, she hit a lift. It was like probably 25 pounds lighter. I don't remember.
And she's just like,
she's like,
I did it.
pumped.
You know?
She's like jumping up and down. Yeah, it's. I love that. Where Tiger Woods has a thing, like he hits a bad shot, he lets himself take 5 steps, then he forgets about the shot.
Yeah.
And something my dad always said, it's like playing baseball growing up, throw a strike, and ump calls it a ball, then it's a ball. The ump called it a ball. So it's a ball.
Yeah.
And you could sit there and whine and be like, oh, this count should be 1 and 2 or whatever. Like, but that's not, like you said, it's not going to help you.
Yeah. Yep.
And it seems like there's a point where you never got to 6'2", 6 foot 2 inches.
Actually, I could still be growing. Okay.
He's like, whoa. Don't count me
my
out.
NBA dreams, it could still happen technically. There's no law that says it can't. So like it could.
This is fair. The first person to hit second puberty.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah. I'm just waiting for that drug to come out. There's going to be some sort of drug that's like, oh, yep, we're just going to put you back and let you grow a little bit more.
Well, there's surgery, like break your kneecaps and or something like that.
But then
sounds healthy.
But then I would be a bad CrossFit, right? you know, it just so happened that I perfectly ended up at 5'9", which is like the perfect size for CrossFit.
Yeah.
I'm like right in that sweet spot. So
yeah. So there's a point you weren't a basketball player. You had that realization, and whatever you want to talk about specifically, but it's like these realizations where it's not cool. I'm not gonna be a basketball player. Life is over. It's like you specifically move on to the next thing. Yeah. And like, not to retell your whole story, but like going from a gym to then building WODprep, and I'm sure having a lot of failures. I'm curious, is there anything that sticks out in your mind where you were going all in on something, you failed, and then what happened?
I think like one of the biggest failures that I remember, I mean, there's a couple ones, CrossFit related. I was in a really good spot to qualify for regionals in 2014 as an individual. You know, that would have been the biggest event that I qualified for. I was sitting in a really good spot, like well within the cut line. And on the 4th week of the Open, like my workout gets released. Like it's the one that had, it was like, what was it? It was like row, wall balls. It was like row, toes to bar, wall balls, power cleans, ring muscle ups.
Oh yeah, 60 cal row.
Yeah, that
50
one.
toes to bar.
And that was like the 60 cal row, whatever. The wall balls, man, whatever. But like everything else in there is just like, this is my jam. Like I'm gonna smash this. The next morning after the announcement, I woke up and couldn't walk because my left leg had gotten MRSA, and you can see like I even have like these little like ingrown hairs, like, you know, like all the power clean pimples is what I call them. Like you get these little ingrown hairs on your quads. Well, one of those had like gotten infected. Like I picked at it or something like that, and boom, MRSA. Like got a staph infection in my left leg. So like I basically, long story short, bombed that workout. Or I ended up 2 muscle ups short from qualifying for regionals. Like literally 2. And of course, like I redid the workout like 2 weeks later and like smashed it. And I was just like devastated that I couldn't have had that score, but whatever. But like, yeah, I was bummed, but I don't think I dwell too much in the failures, because like I know if I fail and then like dwell in it, like that's gonna make me depressed, man. I will not be in a good spot mentally. So I always need to find something to like strive for and like get excited about, and that is an uplifting thing for me. Like the prospect of achieving something, and the attainment of that goal gets me excited. If the goal happens or doesn't happen, that's, neither here nor there. But like if another example is like fishing tournaments. Like I've fished a lot of tournaments in my day. It's illogical to think you can win every one. I think I can win every single one of them. It's like, yep, I'm going to win. Like I can do it. And when you inevitably don't, or I remember qualifying for the Junior World Championship in high school. It was like I worked hard all year. I, won a couple of, or qualified well in a couple events, made it all the way to the World Championship. The top 50 junior bass fishermen in the world were there, yada, yada, yada. Practice hard, and then just like bombed the tournament. I think I zeroed, which is like so embarrassing. I didn't catch anything. And I was devastated. I was crying, like I'm emotional. So I was like crying at, 15 years old or something. It was the most embarrassing thing in the world. And I remember the guy, like the pro that I was fishing with, what was his name? Art Ferguson. Art.
That's a name.
The man. Yes, the classic bass fisherman name. Art. He was just like, hey, man, you can't win them all. And all you have to do is focus on the next one, right? Like we're all human. Yeah, this was a big one, and you failed it. That's okay. You got to focus on the next one, because you will, like, there are next ones, and you will win if you keep focused. And I was like, okay, and then kept crying. Okay, I'm a failure, and he kept crying. But that, like, what he said was true. It's like, yeah, you keep focusing on the next one. And like, to bring it full circle is, long story short, I ended up winning like the college bass fishing like championship, which was like a way bigger tournament, way bigger of a deal. Like 5 years later, ended up like winning the biggest tournament that I had ever fished in, which was amazing. But it's so funny because like, I think after failing that one tournament, after completely bombing that tournament, I'm trying to remember like the timeline of my life here, but like after bombing that one tournament and like being really upset about it, I think that year at school, they had some fancy pants entrepreneur lady. I didn't even know what an entrepreneur was at the time. They had some amazing entrepreneur lady come into the school and like talk to a couple of the classes. And I was lucky enough to be in one of those classes. And little did I know it, like reflecting back on it now, it was like my first self-development seminar that I'd ever been to. Because she just comes in, and it was an amazing class. I actually remember it. Who remembers a single high school class? She came in and she was just like, hey, you can be successful if you just take your goals, you write them on a sheet of paper, and you read them every day. Just every day. Before you go to bed, read your goals. And I was like, what? That's ridiculous. Like, and of course I did it, right? And she like got everyone write your goals down on this sticky note or on this sheet of paper. And I remember I would read those goals. I'd forget what the goals were specifically, but I do know one of them was win the college bass fishing world championship.
Wow.
Like that was it. It was like win the because I think it was my senior year of high school, and I knew I was going to go somewhere and do college bass fishing because it was like really hot at the time. It was kind of like a new sport in college, and I was like, I'm going to go do that, and I'm going to win the championship. And I freaking did it like 3 years later, and I like cleaning out my room after college, I found that sheet of paper, and I was just like, what? Like, oh my God, I didn't even remember writing this down. Because of course, like I only read that sheet of paper like for like maybe like 6 days, and then it didn't stick as a habit in any way, shape, or form. But the fact that like I intentionally thought of that goal, wrote it down, and put it on the sheet of paper, and I did look at that sheet of paper probably for a week or two. Maybe it didn't manifest. Maybe I knew that was going to be my goal all along, and whether I wrote it on a sheet of paper or not, I would have still won that tournament. Who knows? But coming back around, like graduating college and then cleaning out my room and finding that sheet of paper and being like, oh my God, this is from 5 years ago. And I literally like called it right here. Like it like blew my mind. And I was like, all right, I didn't believe in any of that shit before, but maybe I do now. Like that was cool. That was amazing. It was awesome.
That's incredible. I'm getting fired up over here.
This is his jam.
This is what I do. I don't know if you know the word abracadabra.
I've heard of it.
It's actually Aramaic for with my word I create or with my word I influence.
Interesting.
And words are magic.
I always thought it was actual magic. I thought it was like Wingardium Leviosa.
Well, and then the word spell, I believe, is a word or series of words believed to have magic power. And so I do a lot of goal setting with my clients, and I tell them to write stuff down because it's powerful, and it's the same way that you talked about, being a kid and believing in yourself and believing that you could do these things, and even how you look at life now. And when you write things down, I have a cool, interesting story where quick background of mine is college strength and conditioning, CrossFit. And really, I would say in the last 2 years is when I, took on the identity of life coaching. But maybe a year ago, my mom was cleaning out high school stuff and found a paper I wrote my senior year that said I wanted to be a life coach. And I don't remember this at all.
Awesome.
Exactly like you said. And I don't even think I knew what a life coach was in high school, which is I was interested in psychology. I almost studied psychology. And so, same exact thing, just mind blown. But I think the moral of all of this is your mindset really matters.
It does.
And it's like anyone listening, if you're like, this sounds ridiculous, just go try it. Because it's like, what do you have to lose?
Absolutely. And I think one of the biggest things you were like talking about, like, what do you do, or any tips for people with mindset? I obviously I didn't read any books in high school. None. Zero. I was actually prided myself on never reading a single page of a single book and getting A's in all of my English classes. Right? Spark Notes, baby. I'll make it sound like I read the book, but I didn't, I assure you. But after college, when I got in for the first time to actually reading. I needed something to distract me from my CrossFit gym that was just draining, and because I hadn't hired people yet. Reading, your information diet is, I think, the biggest thing that we can do. I mean, anyone listening to this podcast probably already has a decent information diet, but if for whatever reason you are listening to this and you're like, I struggle with mindset. I can never seem to think positively. I can never seem to do the stuff that we're talking about, which is believe in myself. The best thing that you can possibly do is to get off social media and switch that out with digesting positive books, like self-development books. The first self-development book I ever read was called The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. Absolutely freaking phenomenal, because all it does is show you that one little teeny habit repeated consistently can put you in a completely different spot in life compared to one teeny bad habit or not having a habit at all. And that book is a great starter book for anyone who's like, I just can't seem to get out of this rut, or I can't seem to develop myself, or I can't have these positive thoughts that these guys on this podcast have. It's like, I assure you, I beat myself up all the time. I struggle with negative self-talk all the time. So everyone does. But the best thing you can do is digest information that is positive for you as a human, whether it's health stuff, whether it's mindset stuff, whether it's, I don't know, just biographies of people who started from the bottom and then they, rise up to the top, like Phil Knight. It's just just fill your head with those things, and you'll be amazed at how positively that affects the way you talk to yourself. And that's probably the biggest takeaway there is digest good information and freaking get off social media.
Yeah. You could use social media and only follow positive shit too.
That's true.
Follow WODprep, Modern Happiness.
Obviously. That's true. I mean, you could, but
no, I'm with you.
Who does it?
It's hard to avoid.
Yeah.
Everyone's following the meme pages and things like that. And it's like, if this is your one life, because we don't fucking know. If this is your one life, you get one chance. Why not do that?
Yeah.
Why not? We say you can choose happiness, and you've always chosen to think positively. It's so why not? And if you're struggling with it, it's you have the choice to reframe your mind. You can in an instant be okay, I'm thinking negatively, which we say it's not bad. You can have your moments, right?
Yeah.
You lose the fishing tournament, and you could be sad for a bit. But then what? Let's get out of that hole, and we can surround ourselves with those good things, and good things will come of it.
Yep. There's a quote. Not to cut you off, but I know I'm gonna forget it if I don't say it. But there's a quote that that you said, like, hey, you got one life. What are you gonna do with it? And it is from Essentialism. That's where I found the quote, but it's by someone else. I don't remember her name, but it's tell me, what is it you plan to do with this one wild and precious life? And I have that. I literally on Etsy paid someone, like $100 to like print that into a sheet of metal. So I have like this metal sign above my desk at WODprep HQ that literally just says, tell me what it is that you plan to do with this one wild and precious life. And it's just like, the more you can remind yourself of that, there's going to be some days where you're just like, shit, like I'm not doing anything. And and that's actually something that like you think of negatively. You're like, oh my God, I'm wasting my life. Like I'm such a wreck. Like, look at this guy. He's 20 and crushing me, and I'm 30 and suck. So like you have to watch out with quotes like that, because you're like, oh, I'm already ruining it. But when you can reframe your thought and be like, wait a minute, like this is my chance, right? And the only thing you can do is live in the now and start now to develop positive habits or develop positive thinking. Just start now, and keep doing it in the now. Don't think about the future. Don't worry about like where you're going to be in 20 years, but like what are you going to do now to help you get to the goal that you may or may not have set? Like, what can you do now about it? Not yesterday, not 10 minutes from now, but like now. And the more you can live in that now and focus on every decision you make is either pulling you towards or away from that goal that you have. And the more you can just stay on that positive side, you don't have to be perfect, but the more you can stay on that positive side, closer you're going to get to the goal, and it might actually happen.
I love it. So many good nuggets.
Yeah, I love that. I want to tie in and kind of circle back. So Matt asked you, about failure, and you mentioned that example of the CrossFit Open, not qualifying for regionals, and you said, I just got to always be doing something next, right? Otherwise you'll be depressed and sad. And, we believe happiness is a choice. That's a big thing that we talk about a lot. And it's not to say that you can't have rough times and you can't be sad. However, at some point, you can either just sit in that, or you can make a choice, a decision to get out of that, to better, to move on. So I'm curious, with you, Ben, if we look towards the future, let's say next week or next month, something quote unquote bad happens, or a failure, or it doesn't work out. Like, what's your normal go-to to get out of that, or to not be sad, if that makes sense?
Yeah, for sure. For me personally, especially now living in Colorado, I really like lean into friends. Like I go train with friends. I go work out with friends. I go play a sport. Like, I love playing sports. Pickleball.
You've really gotten into pickleball.
Oh my God, pickleball is amazing. Like I freaking love. So like that's what I do, especially in the immediate. Like if I'm just like feeling sad, if I'm beating myself up, which happens. I mean, it happens a lot still to this day. I surround myself with people that I love being with, and then on a more like macro level, like that's a temporary fix. Like you can't always be chasing a high. Like you can't just play all the time with everyone, right? And even though I really do try, it's that still is like it's a high you're chasing. So in terms of like how to sustainably switch you from negative to positive, it's like you find another goal, or you find like what's the next thing you're going to really like lean into. Whether it's, for me, a lot of times it's like a business goal. Like what's our next promotion or a launch or our next course going to be? Or I try to get back into like being the leader and trying to like set a very clear vision for the company and for all the people working for us. Or I'll like lean really, really into a hobby. So like backcountry snowboarding, super therapeutic for me. Like hiking up a mountain, snowboarding down. It just sucks on the way up, super fun on the way down. And just doing that, mountain biking. But again, kind of chasing highs there. The next big hobby I'm getting into personally is elk hunting. So I'm like learning how to shoot a bow. I'm going to be living in the woods for all of September pretty much, without phones or anything. Like I will be disconnected. Like that kind of stuff is really therapeutic for me. It's like just get in whatever your element is. Fishing is another one, man. I can go be on a boat, not say a word for 14 hours and be totally content with myself, fishing all day long. Because what you do is you have that goal, and when you're fishing, like that's the only thing or at least for me, that's the only thing I care about. Like I don't think about girls, I don't think about business, I don't think about anything other than catching the next fish. And that's meditative in a sense, because you're like focusing on one task and one goal, and it's just like very zen, I guess. It's just very like
you're super present.
Yeah, everything else fades away. So I'd say just like find something that you can do where you can only focus on that one thing, or play. One of those two.
Yeah. That's awesome. I kind of want to segue into, because I want to get into this, and you mentioned it with the business and the business goals. If I could just change topics for a second, but we talked about this again when I went to first film you. This was your big goal. You said it yesterday when we ran into you at the CrossFit Games. To the ultimate goal is to help people get off the couch. Your business, WODprep, is to help people get off the couch and find fitness. What does that look? Do you feel like, from an outside perspective, and you can correct me, like, are you there yet? And what does it take to get there, and why?
Yeah, no, we're definitely not there yet. Right now, we help people who generally already like CrossFit, like, get better at it. Like people who kind of already drunk the Kool-Aid, so to speak, or are starting to. They'll find WODprep, and we might help them fall in love with fitness, but we're not the one that's like introducing them to it. So no, we're not there yet. And the next stage is like, basically it's like, there's not going to be like a rebranding, but we'll probably have to create a part of the company that doesn't say WODprep, like no one knows what that is.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to start creating content that's much more geared towards beginners. And like the reason CrossFit works, and I think it works, and the reason a lot of us are here is because like it's fun. Right? Like when you make something fun and it's also good for you, that's a winning combination. So because I believe CrossFit is fun, it's the only gym routine that I was able to stick with. If I can help introduce people to that fun in a really controlled environment, do it online where it's like people are terrified to go into a CrossFit gym. Ideally, what it means is creating content that introduces people to all the various things that they're going to encounter when they go to a real CrossFit gym, to demystify and to basically like lower the barriers of entry, where it's like, hey, try this 5-minute workout. Here's what this word means in the gym. Here's like AMRAP. If someone's like looking at like, what's the workout today? And they look and they're like 8-minute AMRAP. I don't know what that means. I'm not going. Yeah, like that's terrifying. Yeah. I'm not going.
It's like learning another language.
5 T2B and 50 WBs and
it's like people have no idea. So like ultimately it's like it's taking our content, which kind of exists in this like threshold of like, we help people go from scaled to RX. I just need to expand the content topic to include more people, or to include more stuff that's just like how to, like, what does this mean? Like what to do in your first workout. What happens when you're sore? Like much more basic content, because there's so many predators out there that just like, spew nonsensical information about all that stuff. And just try to take that simple coaching approach and change it not to be for CrossFitters, but it's for people who are interested in trying CrossFit. So
yes.
And so I got a lot of work to do.
Yeah. And what drives you to do that? Why is that so important for you to get people off the couch?
I think it's just a bigger impact. I mean, from a business standpoint, it's a no-brainer, right? Which pie is bigger? The pie of people who are super duper competitive, or the pie of people who aren't super duper competitive and want to get a little bit better, right? There's way more people at the bottom, so to speak, if we're looking at like a pyramid here. And then the real reason, or like this, certainly a primary reason, is I think it's just it makes a bigger impact. Like if you can help more people, like the amount of people that I have gotten into CrossFit and then they've gotten their friends into CrossFit, like my aunts, like I still have the original gym that I opened that I now sold, they still go to the gym 5 days a week there, right? Never in a million years would Aunt Carol have tried CrossFit, right? She drinker, smoker, like all the bad things, and still amazing, but she did all that, and then like got a Groupon to come to my CrossFit gym, and then like we gave her a discount, and she just like fell in love with it, and is the fittest she has ever been at like 59 years old, you know, and like it has eliminated a lot of her bad habits. And that's just because she came in, she's like, wow, this is fun. And then that domino fell, and then the rest of them just keep falling. And it's like the more people I can help in just get them in the gym, whether it's in person or online, in our case, just expose them a little bit to the fun that is functional fitness. Not this thing they dread and don't want to do, but like if you can actually make someone say, wow, this is fun, then you got them, and then now their life will be positively impacted, and then all the lives that they impact will be positively impacted. So I think it's a trickle-down effect. Like the more people I can get in to CrossFit specifically, I'm not someone who argues that that's better than anything else. Like, hey, if pickleball is your thing that's going to get you active, then go play pickleball all day long, right? Whatever gets you active. But I think CrossFit is a very good tool because it's fun. And it's the only thing that made me actually want to go do fitness, right? Other than like bodybuilding for the ladies in college for a couple weeks at a time. It's like, no, my entire life changed because I fell into I fell in love with what CrossFit stands for. And those dominoes started falling, and here we are now. So the more people I can get to just taste it and try it, I think it's going to impact more people worldwide than helping some upper middle class white person get slightly better at flopping on a pull-up bar.
Yeah.
You know, like it's just like there's a lot more impact to be had. I think.
I love it, and you love CrossFit, so it's going to keep you pumped to continue to talk about and pump out that content. Otherwise, if you're just like, if it's not so specific in CrossFit, you're just going to be like, oh, I got to make another video.
Yeah.
So it's great. You can stay passionate about it. And Taylor and I were having this conversation kind of about modern happiness and kind of like, where can we get a little more specific in our niche, really? And I mean, obviously both of us have loved fitness, and it seems to be something I even talk about with my clients. Like a lot of people start with fitness as far as like a personal growth thing. Like fitness is where it really happens. And then it's like, oh, you learn a little bit more about nutrition. Oh, and then recovery is important, sleep and water and whatnot. And then maybe start getting into the mindset. But it's like, it seems to, fitness is almost easier barrier of entry. Like it's right there. You can go into any gym and figure it out. And so, yeah, it's just that fitness is so important to people's lives. And I think that's, if we're on the happiness podcast, like that's where happiness can really start, is like when you become the person who is fit. You know, it's not, I always say, it's like, it's not the losing the 30 pounds, but the person you become along the way. Yeah. The person that can come in and work hard and really appreciate their body, and you really start to feel healthier. It's obviously physiology and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, like, you're loving yourself, and that's, I mean, man, it's hard to do, but when you consistently love yourself, then you start feeling better about yourself from the inside. It's like an inside out thing, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love this topic because you're now talking more about people getting off the couch, and I think it's interesting. As what Matt was talking about, we've been discussing what is modern happiness, and sort of these tenets of, to be happy, what does it take, right? And it's things like community, having relationships, positive relationships. It's mindset. It's, we believe, health and fitness, right? It's having a sense of purpose, right? Having a good relationship with money. However, you know, the three of us, and we're at the CrossFit Games, like, I think sometimes we take it for granted. Like, fitness is such a part of our lives. And I think we would all agree that it makes us happier, you know? So if somebody's listening who's maybe not there, and if you're speaking to that niche of people getting off the couch, like, how do you think that fitness can make people happier and live better lives?
Yeah. How do I think fitness can make people happier?
Or do you?
I definitely do, because again, I think when you pursue fitness, it is like when you are doing the action that like shows yourself that you love yourself. Again, like it's like when I'm doing fitness, as long as it's not like for someone else, then you're literally like showing your body and your mind like, hey, like I'm doing this for you. And it's I think it's just like this internal dialogue of like when you start voting for yourself, when you start like not beating yourself up, like not smoking the cigarette or not laying on the couch. It's like this inner positive change where it's like, oh, like other faculties I think start to be more positive, whether it's your mindset or whether it's your view of yourself. It's just a powerful thing where it's like when we start voting with, we're voting with our reps. Like we're doing reps in the gym. Each rep is a positive step in a direction of like, I choose to be a better human, or I choose to be someone that values myself. I think it has a positive influence on the rest of your body, your psyche, your ego, your mindset, whatever you want to call it. If you aren't pursuing fitness, if you are instead doing things that might even be like negative to your health, like, just eating shitloads of terrible foods, which I love doing. But the reason I'm like okay with it is because like I also take so many votes on the side of positive, whether it's my information diet or whether it's my fitness, or whether it's like the 85% of what I eat is pretty decent, right? It's the other 15% that is just sloppy and egregious. But because I'm consistently voting on the things that positively impact my life, I'm doing more things on that side of the equation than I am on the side that's like negatively affecting my life. It shows myself that I value myself as a person. And I know that's like it's tough, but it's like whatever you do is who you are, right? And if you don't do fitness and you don't eat clean or eat well, you don't have positive sleep habits, you are telling yourself that you don't care about yourself. And it's like a very bad cycle to be in.
Subconscious.
Yeah, like exactly.
Yeah. I love all of that. And we got some events to go to. So to kind of wrap it up, and Taylor kind of talked about these tenets we have of being a happy person, and he listed them. And as he's listing them, like, Ben really hit on all of these things. Having the purpose, the fitness, all this stuff.
Selling rocks,
baby.
Selling rocks.
Ben, would you say you're happy?
I'd say I'm pursuing happiness, which I think is happiness, right? Like, I think I don't know. I don't think I've ever met someone that can just be like, oh yeah, I'm happy, man. It's because it's not, I don't think it's ever something to be truly attained. I think it's like we are always striving for happiness, and I have lots of happy moments, but I have lots of unhappy moments, right? And I think that is happiness, which I know is like such an odd way to answer, but the pursuit of it and then knowing that you will never fully attain it is what life's all about, So I'm pursuing happiness.
Yeah, I love that answer. It's like enlightenment, right? Like most people don't get to enlightenment.
Yeah.
It's the pursuit that makes it so great.
Exactly.
And we just had this conversation. I think we did, right? Or maybe no. This is actually, he's with me. He does some mindset coaching in my group with my clients, and we were talking about this. Like, if it was easy and you weren't, trying to get better, and you weren't having these bad moments to work shit out in your head, and so that's setting you up for more to deal with the next shit in your life. If it was just easy, it wouldn't be fun.
Oh yeah, no, you'd be bored. It has to be hard.
Yeah,
do hard things. It's like I have that painted on our wall at WODprep HQ. We have shirts that say it all.
Yeah.
Like when you do difficult things, when you have adversity, that's what makes the pursuit of happiness so much fun. Granted, no one wants to just lose all the time, but like if you won all the time, it wouldn't be fun either. Right? It has to be in the middle somewhere. You have to have some wins and some losses, because that's what makes the wins sweet and delicious and fun. When I say wins, I'm not saying like winning in a sense of winning a lottery or winning a game, but just like when things are going well and you feel that happiness, like those are times to be cherished, because if you always felt happy, that'd be a miserable hell, man. I think Mark Manson talks about this in a couple of his books. A Case for Hope. It's like you have to have something that you're working towards or hoping for, or like what is it? It's like, don't ask for a life without problems, ask for a life with good problems. And like that's the life you want to live, because life without problems is meaningless. That's great.
Just dropping bombs, man.
Yeah,
this
I know.
Is incredible.
Selling rocks, man.
Selling rocks. What it all comes back to. This has been such a good podcast, Ben.
Yeah,
Thanks
guys,
so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. It's been fantastic.
Can't wait to see you back in Denver.
Yeah, let's get some training in, and let's play some freaking pickleball.
Dude, show me pickleball. I've played pickleball, I think, once. I'm more of a tennis guy, but
you're gonna love it.
Yeah.
We go out there like 6 a.m. Like, you're definitely not supposed to be out there. There's like houses that are probably going to call the cops on us, but we do it anyway, and it's amazing. So y'all are invited.
I love sports, and and then before you know it, it'll be snowboard season. So we'll get it there. Yep. Awesome.
And I'll have lots of elk meat to pass out.
Now we're talking.
Yes.
My roommate hunts, and he cooks elk meat, and it's like there's nothing like it.
It's the best.
It's so rich.
It's the happiest meat in the world too.
It's
like,
incredible.
I'd much rather have that than some cow that was. Anyway.
Yeah, it's happy meat.
Happy meat.
That's great. All right, awesome. Ben, thanks so much. Taylor,
thanks
love
for
you,
having
dude.
me.
Love you, Ben. Until next time, peace out.
Let's go watch some fitness.
Let's do it.